So it's so bad for Joe Biden that the unions, which are completely corrupted, are already endorsing him, even though he's anti-union. Isn't that funny? In an unprecedented show of solidarity, major labor unions endorsed Biden for 2024. They already we haven't even gone through the primary yet, right? There's 2 other candidates in the race.
Let's
for
not
president.
have an election.
On the eve of the Philadelphia rally hosted by labor leaders, the AFL-CIO and 17 unions on Friday endorsed Democratic using President Joe Biden. During the 2020 campaign and since taking office, Biden has pledged to be the most pro-union president, leading the most pro-union administration in American history. He has won praise for various appointments, including Julia Su for labor secretary, which still lacks U.S. Senate approval, and actions to improve the lives of exploited workers.
Like what?
Although Biden, they never talk anymore about the PRO Act. We got to get the PRO. Remember they talk about the PRO Act?
Yeah. Oh, he didn't do it?
No, he didn't do it. They didn't do it.
I know he didn't.
Although Biden also has at times angered organized labor. At times, like when he squashes them and does fascism on them. Particularly in December when he signed a congressional resolution preventing a nationwide rail strike. That's also known as crushing a union. That's known as taking away a union's ability to organize. That's what that is. That's called fascism, when the government intervenes not on behalf of the citizens but on behalf of a wealthy corporation to squash the citizens. That's the definition of fascism, and that's what Joe Biden and the Democrats are. They are fascists. So it's always adorable.
Partnership.
It's always adorable when Cornel West only pretends that Donald Trump and Republicans are neo-fascists. There's no bigger fascist than Joe Biden, and I'll debate anybody on that.
Also, what's neo what? It just sounds like the same old fascist.
Again, it's just a buzzword that divides people. December, when he signed the congressional resolution preventing the nationwide rail strike, and industry workers were fighting for paid sick leave. All they wanted was sick leave. The AFL-CIO president Liz Shuler still stressed Friday that there's absolutely no question that Joe Biden is the most pro-union president. Holy shit. That's like saying Chris Christie is the most in-shape-minded governor we've ever had.
Well, I believe her, and that's why America sucks as. That's our best pro-union. That's why, you live in a real banana republic.
So Bill Clinton cut the legs off from underneath the unions with NAFTA. Joe Biden just crushed the unions again with the railroad thing. But the unions are still endorsing him a year ahead of time, and they're pretending like he's not a fascist. Why do you think they're doing that? It's because they're corrupt.
Because they're paid off?
Because they're paid off, and they're part of the professional managerial class. They are more they have more in common with the people at the company, with the executive at the company, they do with their workers that they're supposed to represent. And so the AFL-CIO is pretty corrupt.
The mafia did a better job representing the workers.
About 100% the mafia did it.
The mafia actually
got stuff for them.
And they were robbing the workers.
From bringing manufacturing jobs home to America, to protecting our pensions and making historic investments in infrastructure, clean energy, and education, we've never seen a president work so tirelessly to rebuild our economy from the bottom up and middle out, Shuler said. We've never seen a president more forcefully advocate for workers' fundamental right to join a union, but then squash them when they actually try to organize inside that union.
It's more of an identity. That's what we're about.
It's more of an identity.
The badge, don't do anything.
This is why we need a revolution. We need the heads of the AFL-CIO are the establishment. They work for the establishment. They're not working for their workers. Find out who the head of the AFL-CIO. Can you find out who the head of the AFL-CIO is?
There's a drunk history.
Is it Shuler? Is it that woman? Is that Shuler I just said? Is that who that is? I just read the name. I'm such an idiot. Now it's time. What? You want to say something?
There's an episode of Drunk History, and all the comics and actors on it, I'm sure, would believe this, that Biden's the union guy. And it's all about those newsboys, the newsies back in the day, where these kids would have to sell, and the newspapers are screwing them, and they formed a union. And then the one kid got bribed by the newspapers and comes back rich. She goes, hey, no, they're good guys. We should stop doing this. And that's we live in the 1890s.
So she is the AFL-CIO president, Liz Shuler. Okay, and she's corrupted. Now it's time to finish the job, she declared. The largest labor mobilization in history begins today. Supercharged by... So you're trying to get... How are you going to get people excited about working for Joe Biden after they just squashed their union?
Mobilized for what?
Mobilized to get Joe
More
Biden
hours?
elected.
Oh, okay.
The excitement, the enthusiasm of hundreds of thousands of union volunteers who work tirelessly to reelect a president that's going to screw them as hard as he fucking can.
If you're in a union and you go do that...
They always fight. How can they say this? Always fight for us.
Well, maybe they want to do something much worse to them, and he said, no, just leave it at they can't call out sick.
Coming nearly 17 months before the 2024 election. It's almost 2 years ahead of time.
Well, they're going to have to get this... Well, the hypnosis process of lying has to start now because this is a big one.
Friday's announcement is the earliest presidential endorsement in history for the General Board of the AFL-CIO, which represents 60 unions and more than 12.5 million workers. And now you know why the workers aren't in the street protesting. It's because the people running their unions are corrupt.
Wow. They even do coups on the heads of unions here.
Along with the AFL-CIO unions, individually, look at the other ones that endorsed it. The Actors Equity already endorsed Biden.
Oh.
Not RFK Jr., not Marianne Williamson, not a third party, not Cornel West.
They haven't even heard them out, by the way. Like, oh, no, it's Biden. That's the only choice we have.
That's it. That's all the only choice. Here's the other ones. American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. Oh, the Teachers Union. The most corrupt union leader in the history of unions. What's her name, the head of the teachers union? Randy Weingarten. That's who that is. Communications Workers of America, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, International Union of Operating Engineers, International Association of Bridge Structural Ornament. Oh, man, if those guys ever tried to strike Joe Biden would crush the fuck out of them. Labor's International Union of North America and the National Nurses United. Also, 100% corrupted leadership at the National Nurses Union. I love nurses, love the nurses union. Their leaders are 100% corrupt.
Can you guys all, I mean, they must be
100% corrupt.
Members must be watching this. Can you guys just strike anyway? Or is
right?
Not, like,
well, that's
clearly your leadership don't care about you.
Clearly. Boy, people, I love nurses. Their union leadership is garbage.
They all, all the nurses knew all this stuff. Like, for example, unlike the safe and effective vaccine, you know how masks never worked at all?
Yeah.
Nurses were saying that. That's not how masks work. And I wasn't like, what do you know? But I was like, well, there must be something that they don't know because they're not a doctor. Like, no, they never worked and they all knew that. So I know they know.
It's undeniable Joe Biden is the most pro-union president of any of our lifetimes. He's a union man and he's not afraid to admit it. Why would he be afraid to admit it? He's going to squash you. He's going to do the bidding of his oligarchy. The AFSCME is proud to endorse President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. President Biden and Vice President Harris took decisive life-saving action at the very start of their term when their administration confronted the deadly global pandemic. And they did nothing.
Well, no, they did nothing. Did nurses get fired who didn't want the experimental vaccine?
They fired the people who didn't want to take the vaccine. That's all they did.
Thanks, union.
Nurses have their back in 2024. When we look at their track record, we can see that they have ours. You are such a tool.
Hey, do a TikTok dance video.
Do it, yeah. Biden and Harris do not have nurses' backs. See, this is why union leadership can't be trusted. Biden said he'd veto Medicare for all. Quick, let's endorse him. Medicare for all is literally a core goal of the National Nurses Union. Make this make sense. This is how it makes sense. The people leading the nurses union are corrupt. They're criminals.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. There you go.
Oh, no, I see. It makes sense.
You know how the nurses, the president of the nurses union is always on television screaming that Joe Biden isn't giving us Medicare for all. You know how the nurses union president is always on TV pressuring Joe Biden to give us the public option that Joe Biden ran on. You know how the head of the nurses union is always on TV trying to pressure the nurses union president, who is it?
That's buying them off. Probably.
Did you look up who the president of the nurses union is? National Nurses Union.
Probably. I didn't realize I was watching RFK on I don't remember who he's talking to. Was it Jordan?
And here they are. Nurses applaud the reintroduction of Medicare for all legislation in Congress. Where were they during Forced to Vote? Where were they? They were nowhere. Yeah. The National Nurses Union leadership was AWOL.
I'd love to talk to any of those nurses.
And so then they introduced Medicare for all when the Democrats don't have power anymore. And the nurses go right along with it. That's called propaganda.
How would you like to find
I'm not talking nurses. I'm talking the nurses union leadership.
Okay, the person they got arranged into this photo op, but like now, I would love to have any of those nurses on and be like, so what do you think about that now? Because I know they couldn't all be in on it, and they got to be like, oh yeah, we're going to get it in there and try. And then they see it. I like people's where they find out, that everything they've lived is a lie moment, and I'd like to interview them about theirs.
I just found that it's an executive director is Bonnie Castillo, RN, and its presidents are RNs Deborah Berger, Nancy Hagan, Jean Ross, and Zenny Triunfo Cortez. That's a list that I have. I'm trying to narrow it down. Well,
they're welcome on the show to try to defend their garbage anytime they want. I don't want to bully them. I don't want to bully them.
What are you, anti-Semitic?
I don't want to be all white supremacy on their ass, but I would like to. I would love to have an interview. Maybe they come on and straighten my ass out. Maybe I would be the one embarrassed.
Well, the leaders of the union, I'm sure, would never. But the people in it, like you had the guy from the trains,
yeah.
I'll bet they would have some interesting things to say.
We should get a nurse on. Calling Biden and Harris the most pro-labor, pro-public education leaders our country has seen in modern history, AFT President Randy Weingarten, that's the teachers president, declared Friday that this weekend the entire labor movement is joining together in an unprecedented show of strength and support to screw itself.
I think there's a precedent of more strength and support in unions than right now, don't you?
This is so garbage. Our friend Misty Putin's buddy says, need any more evidence that union leadership has been completely co-opted? The Biden-Harris administration is none of those things. F you.
Oh, look at Randy Weingarten. She put a little Ukraine on there.
Yeah, she's got a little Ukraine.
And
nice?
What is the flexing black arm?
Yep.
And a graduation hat.
Mm-hmm. She wants to get cast in a movie.
Oh, this is so it can win an Oscar?
Yeah, this is so her tweet can win an Oscar. Nick, friend of the show, Nick Cruz says the unions endorsing Joe Biden and the liberals lying about his labor record are the most dishonest people in politics, the biggest, most shameless gaslighters on the planet, and they are. If you're going to tell me Joe Biden is pro-union, you are a liar. Trump only dreams of being that big of a liar.
Oh, by the way, do all three things on there. What is this like?
Never ask a woman her age. Never ask a man a salary. And the most important pro-union president in American history about the 2022 freight rail worker strike. Never ask him about that.
Do the opposite of each one of those things in life.
Of course. I don't ask women their age.
Well, if it's none of my business, but if it is your business, ask.
2 years ago, union leaders were talking tough past the PRO Act, or else. Fast forward to now, no PRO Act. No $15 an hour wage and a broken rail strike, and they cut food stamps.
The most pro-union president, unprecedented in American history.
Biden delivered nothing. We need a political revolution in this labor movement and leaders who won't roll over for Democrats.
Well, you're not getting it.
And what is the PRO Act? The PRO Act, the bill that protecting the workers' right to organize, is a landmark worker empowerment, civil rights, and economic stimulus legislation and an essential part of any plan to build back better from the COVID-19 pandemic and recession, but they're not doing that. Joe Biden, they never bring up the PRO Act when they had complete control of government. Isn't that funny?
Our friend of the show, Ben Glebe, could probably explain.
During the Wednesday call, I was at dinner with... Same thing last night. Someone saying the Democrats were better because of certain little things that were
about the PRO Act?
No. During the Wednesday call, unions, including the IUPAT, Communications Workers of America and American Federation of Government Employees, made clear that the DSCC, that the party needs to get lawmakers like the Arizona Democrat Mark Kelly in line and clear the PRO Act to Biden's desk for his signature. If it can't, they may have to consider withholding their support, they said. Oh, really?
They'll give it I got a feeling they'll give it anyway.
Boy, I really hope they're serious about that.
That's from 2021.
Oh, this is from... that's from April of 20... So that's from over a year ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, they didn't.
23, too.
Okay. I'm sorry, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Steph, for that.
do you hear the wormy language? We may have to consider.
Turns out they didn't. Turns out they did support them. Joe Biden and labor union leaders are lying to us. He's an anti-union, and his first fundraiser from 2020 presidential run proves this. His first fundraiser was with executives from Comcast.
Oh, one of the best track record companies?
Yeah. They always voted the worst company in the world to work
both in
for.
Customer satisfaction and worker satisfaction?
I like how he's touching her to make sure she knows he's in solidarity.
Yeah.
Hey, let me get a
Union-busting lawyer to host Biden's first fundraiser Thursday. On Monday, Vice President Joe Biden intends to launch his presidential campaign at the... Oh, really? So this was maybe his new... So the first time he ran, he held it with the Comcast. So this new one...
Guess what? This time he's going to build a railroad across the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean. So that's a lot of jobs.
What is up with these tweets I've seen with unions endorsing Joe Biden? You've got to be kidding me. The Obama administration effed over the working class, and the Biden administration picked up right where Obama left off. Union leaders selling out their membership left and right. It's shameful. And who said that? Misfit Black Girl said that.
Yeah, great question, Mr. Black Girl. I'll answer. You're sold out.
You sold out.
Not you.
They sold you out.
Yeah, right.
Presidents like Joe Biden, who signed bills that block workers from striking, are not pro-union or pro-worker. They are anti-union and anti-worker and pro-Wall Street. I cannot believe this has to be said, but it does due to the Democrat Party propaganda machine. Well said, Ryan Knight. So there you go. That's how desperate and that's how bad it looks for Demented Joe, that the people who run the country, which is a handful of billionaires, are afraid he's not going to win election. So they got their tools in the union movement, the people leaders who are the tools of the oligarchy, to endorse him a year and a half before the election, even though they haven't done the primary yet, and there's independent candidates running who are much more pro-union.
So whatever your party, just so you know, you don't have to argue about the election being rigged. They do it before it even gets to your phony.
That's right.
It's been rigged before you even got to the goddamn thing.
Right.
That's why we have the lesser of two evils thing we got to do every goddamn election. Some countries get 4 or 5 evils to choose from.
Hey, come see us live on tour. Be in Bakersfield, Baltimore, San Francisco, Huntington Beach, Rosemont, and Chicago, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, and more.
Hey,
go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.